Hey, it's Kabir. Welcome to my first video. Today I'll be reviewing the second gen iPhone SE after using it for 9 months. And let me just tell you this straight away, it's been an excellent overall experience, but there were a few downsides here and there, all of which I'll cover. So if you're watching this, you probably have a decent idea of what the phone is. It's an iPhone 8 with the processor from the iPhone 11 and 11 Pros. That's the A13 Bionic processor. And with that come quite considerable advantages, all of which make it worth the $399 that it costs. So let's get started. Alright, when I said that the phone is worth $399, it was with two major asterisks. The first being the price itself. Don't convert it to your local currency. It's $399 in the USA, and in Dubai, for example, it's 1669 dirhams, which is 450 US dollars. Still an amazing value around that price, in my opinion. However, in India, for example, it's 40,000 rupees, which converted to USD is 550. So, at that point, you'd really want the exact feature set that this offers over its Android competition if you're going to pay extra. So, that brings me on to the second asterisk, the Android competition. Over the 9 months that this phone has been out, there have been various Android phones going head to head directly with it. The most notable of which being the Pixel 4a and the OnePlus Nord. Amazing phones, both of them, but they offer different feature sets that they have different priorities to the SE. Uh, the Pixel 4a, the most notable differentiating factor is the fact that it has a better screen, it's newer technology, and it's brighter and more vivid. But it's made of plastic, so it has a plastic back. The SE has glass. It's covered in a skin, but it's glass, so it feels more premium. That wouldn't. And the cameras suffer in video recording compared to this. Also, the most notable advantage that the SE has, its processor, that's not there in the Pixel 4a. It has this Snapdragon 730G, which is much less powerful than the A13 Bionic, and it is noticeable in day to day use. And especially as it goes through the years, as it gets software updates, it won't get any more powerful. It's going to have more to handle. So you'll have to keep that in mind as well. And the OnePlus Nord is completely different to both of these phones. It's to begin with, it's a bigger phone. The SE and the 4a are more compact, and the Nord has a 90 hertz refresh rate screen, so it just feels more fluid. But again, it doesn't have the most powerful processor, so it might not last that way. On a side note, this video might get long, so if you'd like to skip to a certain part, I'll leave timestamps below, so feel free to do so. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how well this design has aged? Yes, it's not the most modern looking by any means. It has thick bezels, only the single camera in the back, but it's a quality glass construction with excellent buttons if you're into that. And it has stereo speakers and a home button with Touch ID. So it's a functional, excellent quality design, and much better than the Android rivals, which are mostly made of plastic. And even if they are made of glass, there are sacrifices made. None in this. I have nothing else to say about it, it just works. You know what? I actually do have something I'd like to say, and this is a theme for the whole video. So you might be wondering why Apple couldn't just go ahead and build from the ground up a phone targeted at the price point instead of having to reuse parts. But reusing the parts is what got them to this price point with the same quality and the feature set that the iPhone SE has. And this applies to it not having a headphone jack, which most budget phones usually do have. And this will apply for many other things like the display and battery, which I'll talk about later. By now, you should have a good understanding of what the phone is and where it stands in the market. So, I'll talk about the key elements in depth, starting with the performance. As I've mentioned before, A13 Bionic, one of the fastest mobile processors in the world, performs amazing. Extremely smooth throughout the UI. There's zero processing lag while taking pictures. You just snap and go. And even while playing games, I've experienced zero frame drops. Call of Duty Mobile, for example, it's a pretty intensive game. I play at ultra settings, everything cranked to ultra, and still with a good internet connection, experience zero frame drops. Most phones in this price range don't even have the ultra option in the game. So that should give you a pretty good idea about how well performing the phone is for today. And with the optimization that Apple does with throughout its years with software updates, I think it's going to last longer than most Android competition. I would I think 5 years would be a safe bet for getting software updates. So this phone is gonna last basically forever. Oh, and another thing I should mention is that Apple doesn't disclose how much RAM their phones have, but this phone is estimated to have around 3 GB RAM. It does sound like a little less. It sounds like very less. But trust me, it's more than enough for multitasking. And with the optimization, as I mentioned before, it's not going to be a problem. All of that performance does, however, come at a cost. Battery life. With just an 1800 milliamp hour cell, it's not enough battery life even after all the battery optimizations that Apple has done and the battery saving features that it has. If you're gonna push the phone to its limits, don't expect it to last the whole day. I tried doing so and it died by midday. And you see, the same thing applies over here. If they were to fit a bigger battery, they would have to A, do more R&D, and B, change the layout of the phone, costing more money, thus defeating the whole purpose. So, as I said before, I can let it pass. It's not that bad. So, it's clearly not intended for that purpose, and all the power that it has, it is for future proofing, essentially, in my opinion. So, if you're doing normal day to day tasks, scrolling through social media, browsing the web, texting somebody, and with occasional gaming and occasional photography, it should be fine. It'll last you the whole day. And after that, you have the option of wireless charging as well. So, you can overnight wirelessly charge it. And it comes with a tiny 5-watt adapter that I don't recommend using. It's painfully slow. So I do recommend getting a fast charger. It supports up to 18-watt fast charging, and avoid getting the Apple charger. I think it's overpriced. I personally use a Samsung 18-watt charger. I just had it lying around. Works just fine, charges pretty quick. So that's what I had to say about battery. And the next thing I want to talk about is the cameras. Now, this is where the phone really shines. Take a look at the spec sheet, and they don't seem great, honestly. I mean, it's only a 12 megapixel rear and 7 megapixel front camera. How good could that be? Let me tell you, they're amazing. And the secret sauce is the A13 Bionic, which unlocks potential for amazing computational photography, and Apple has taken full advantage of it. You take a look at some of these shots, and the untrained eye wouldn't be able to tell that they're taken from a $400 iPhone, not a $1,000 one. And I think that's amazing. The consistency of images is just unmatched at this price point. This is a 4K 30 FPS video taken from the phone's rear camera, and it's not a camera review, but this is just to give you an idea of the stabilization and some of the dynamic range. I know there's not much light here, but you see, as I go towards the building with the light shining off it, I think it handles it pretty well. And I'm not tapping to focus or adjusting exposure. It's doing that all on its own and pretty smoothly, so that's great. Another feature that it inherits from other iPhones is app optimization. uh, I'll tell you what I mean. So, let's say you open Instagram and you want to click a photo from there using the filters. You'll not compromise on your image quality like you would on most other Android smartphones. The default camera app is is what you have to use to get the most out of them. Not so for iPhones, and that holds true even for this budget, quote unquote budget iPhone. I think that's great. I wanted to take a moment to talk about the display as well. It's a Retina HD display, but what you need to know about it is that it's a 720p LCD display. Might sound really bad, and it is worse than the competition, but it's not unusable. It's certainly a very good quality LCD display, but OLED displays are just far better. But again, we come down to this reusing of parts, and nobody had a problem with the iPhone 8's display, so I don't see why you should have a problem with this one. Besides, it does come with the standard Apple features like True Tone and Night Shift, which calibrate the display according to ambient light. So that's good. It's overall usable display, no problems. And even if they did use a higher resolution display, it would eat through the battery even faster, which already is just okay. So I'm not going to complain too much about this. So there were a few other things that I wanted to touch upon, like the speakers, call quality, and the Apple features and perks that come with buying an iPhone. Let's start with the speakers. I'm playing this at 50% volume from Apple Music. Sounds pretty good. So about call quality, I have no issues to report. Apart from one glitch I had a few weeks back, I couldn't record it, but I wasn't able to pick up a call for a day, and I rebooted the phone and it was working fine. Probably just a software glitch, but no other issues to report. uh, and the Apple features, yes. So I mentioned you get True Tone, Night Shift, and all of the cool display features. And otherwise, with Apple service, if you get Apple Care Plus, you can download the Apple Support app. And if you have any issues, you can chat with the support team, and they reply instantaneously. Apple has always been good with that, so that's just an iPhone thing, not specific to this iPhone. Yeah, that's all I had to say. As I mentioned before, the price and value honestly depend on your region, but I would say anything near 450 converted to 450 US dollars should be excellent value. And if you're able to catch a deal, I highly recommend upgrading to the 128 GB storage, especially if you're not willing to pay extra for iCloud. And another thing to keep in mind if you're going to purchase the phone is that the black model, the back glass shows the most scratches, and white the least. Red is somewhere in the middle. These are the three options. Uh, but if you're going to use a case or put a skin, then it doesn't really make a difference. Those are just the things I wanted to point out. Let's go on to the conclusion. The SE is a great device for anyone looking for a phone that just works, and it's a great cheaper iPhone alternative. And it is an iPhone, but it has many of the same features as the $1,000 iPhones while not costing so much. and it'll last you around 5 years, so that's great. And while it does have some disadvantages like the display and battery, I think the powerful processor make up for all of that. Thanks for watching my first and what's probably gonna end up being a cringeworthy video. I'd appreciate all feedback in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed watching. And if not, feel free to share it with all the people you hate. I'm sure they won't like it either.